Another musician that you knew personally was Lenny Breau. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with him?
Well, he's great. Just like Ozzy was a great musician. These guys are 100%. Right? I mean, they're really into the art. You know, they had their karmic debts and crazies going on, but you know, it's always about the music when we were together. It wasn't about people or girlfriends and all this other stuff, you know. It's really about the music. So Lenny was, you know, great, beautiful, very simple person, but musically he's very advanced cat, man. Right. But that was him. Yeah. His mind was attuned to a deeper level of hearing, you know, music, harmony especially. And he heard it that way. So I would say he had a harmonic mentality. You know, he had a mind that was really geared to play harmonies, imitate harmonies that he heard, and explore them. Yeah. So he was creative in his own right. A very sweet person, seemed to be troubled by a lot of issues, but was always focused on the music. He came to hear me play often. We played together. I have a recording of us playing a little bit together, a couple of times, I think. And he confided in me. He felt we had a very deep spiritual connection, regardless of what he appeared to be as a jazz musician. We had a deep spiritual connection. The same with Arthur Ames. We had a deep spiritual connection. That's what we talked about, as well as music and jazz and gigging and other musicians. The spiritual side. It's my favorite topic. So we were friends. Lenny and I were friends. We would meet like out of nowhere, you know, in various places, and talk, and hook up like close friends, brothers. You know, it's great. You know, he played my guitars. I played one of his guitars. You know, tried to play it. I mean, I was always a beginner, so I really couldn't do anything on the guitar. I mean, I never felt I was accomplishing much on that instrument. But very sweet, humble, humorous, but unhappy. You know, he had issues, and you know, sad person. You know, great, no doubt, but he had a burden. You know, I wouldn't call him a happy cat, but he was happy to play. So in that function, it was great. You know, happy to be playing, you know, with his favorite players and so on. That's obvious. It's, you know, it's obvious. Someone I recommend everybody listen to. You know, you get something of his love of beauty and majesty, and classical, you know, musical, jazz invention, if you want to call it that. Yeah, great cat, man. Yeah.
Would you say was he open? Was he open to the yogic side of that thing at all? Or?
No, he wasn't open to that. He was a Roman Catholic, so he talked about their issues, you know, and believing, you know, in terms of like the function of Jesus, believing that as being important. So he was into guru consciousness. Jesus was guru, saying that he was leader, and that you have a spiritual leader, you know, or an example. That's what Roman Catholicism is about, the living demonstration of a teacher. So he had his own sense of what it was. For instance, there was a thing he used to say when he saw me. He said, "Man, whenever I see you, I feel God, or I think about God." And so there's a religious connection, right? And I remember once playing a gig, and you know, he's standing right in front of me in the audience, and he was crying. I mean, something happened to him, and I was shocked. And I said, "Lenny, what's wrong, man?" He said, "You just played something, man, and it got to me, man." So he was open. He wasn't what I would call an out player, but he was out in his own way, you know, creative in his own way. But he was a, you know, he was a very sensitive cat, man. Very lovable individual, man.
So was Lenny listening to your music or interested in your in what
Oh,
you're doing?
he was curious. He was curious. And he came around. We talked. And he would come to my place late at night. And he'd say he wanted to hear what I did that night or for that gig. And so I'd play it back for him. And he was interested in what I was doing. I don't think I was making any sense. You know, and I didn't think it was important. For me, it was just where I was at developing. I was trying to catch up. Because I started out on the guitar much later than most people. You know, started in the Army band. I was already in the military for 4 years, almost 5 years. So during that time, I wasn't playing music. So when I got to the band, it was like a crash, boom, bang. Man, it's all about music. And so I was able to recover something. And then when I got up to Canada, after I finished with the Army band, and I had dreams about Canada and musicians, so I had to follow that. And I did meet a lot of great musicians up there, and he was one of them. And he was a dear friend, man. Right. So he was interested in what I was doing. He thought it had a spiritual component, because that's where his mind was. A lot of people didn't know that he had a certain kind of sense, extrasensory sense, where he could hear stuff in my music I wasn't even hearing. He was going through emotions I wasn't going through exactly, but I may have been channeling that.
So would you say the spiritual connection maybe came first, and then, I mean, you guys were playing a little bit together, you know,
Yeah.
but musically there was the connection as well, but maybe the spiritual connection is what really brought you guys together.
Well, I
perhaps?
think that could be considered the fact of it. It's a spiritual connection. Prior to this, let's say, a social, musical experience that set it up. So there's something to complete there, in a manner of speaking, at least in conversational terms, and then maybe in terms of sharing art, right? His level of art, very sophisticated, right? Very classical, very correct. Mine was practically the opposite. His was deep, technically so. Mine was deep in terms of the unconscious element, right? Coming in. Right. Voodoo. So they were opposites, complementary, and you know, part of the same culture. I did remember that when I was speaking to him, I think around the last time that we talked, he was trying to master the chord style of McCoy Tyner, since he had accomplished that relative to Bill Evans. So he played me some of the stuff that he was doing. He was imitating McCoy Tyner, he was playing McCoy, you know, in his way, and sounded just like McCoy. He said that was his goal at that time. So he was an imitator. He wanted to master what there was to master. He wanted to sound like and be like some of these great artists. And that's something which he emoted to me once about. He said, yeah, you know, went down to New York and looking for work, and he says, I had to get behind 300 Lenny Breaus to get a gig. We both cracked up. Right? Comment?
By saying that, he's saying he was other people were imitating.
Well, he had imitated everybody's styles.
Right, right.
And so he had to stand behind a whole bunch of guys who were doing the same thing that he was doing. I don't know that they did it better than Lenny. Lenny had his own sort of extreme brilliance and you know, his own sense of humor and entertainment. But he was unhappy about it, because he said he didn't really know who he was. He told me that. He says, I know all these styles. I play, you know, Chet Atkins. I play this. I play that. Blah, blah. He said, I don't know who I am. That's a dilemma. But that's not unusual for great artists who are going through their evolution. And they go through identity crises from time to time, depending on what stage they're at and whatever it is they assume themselves having to do or become.